Tonight, the world is holding its breath. A second U.S. warship is now moving into the Middle East, and Iran is calling it nothing less than an act of war. Is this a strategic show of force meant to prevent conflict, or the first step toward a dangerous escalation that could shake global markets, disrupt oil supplies, and redraw the balance of power in the region? What happens next could determine whether this is high-stakes diplomacy or the opening chapter of a much larger crisis. Welcome back to USA Latest Update, your most trusted source for breaking news, global tensions, and critical developments that shape our world. Tonight, we're tracking a major escalation in the Middle East. The United States has deployed a second warship to the region, and Iran is calling it an act of war. What does this mean for global security, oil prices, and the possibility of direct conflict? Stay with us as we break down the facts, the strategy, and what could happen next. The newly deployed vessel is reported to be part of a broader carrier strike group, complete with guided missile destroyers and advanced defense systems. Military analysts say such deployments are rarely symbolic. They send a strategic message. In this case, the message appears to be one of readiness and power projection. The Middle East has long been a focal point of global security concerns, and any increase in U.S. naval assets in the region immediately draws international attention. U.S. officials have stated that the decision comes amid rising threats to American interests and allies in the region. While specific intelligence details remain classified, sources suggest that concerns over regional instability, militia activity, and maritime security played a role in the decision. The Pentagon has emphasized that the deployment is defensive in nature, aimed at protecting shipping lanes and maintaining stability in international waters. Iran, however, sees it differently. Iranian state media has described the move as aggressive and provocative. Senior Iranian officials have warned that increasing the American military footprint near their borders heightens the risk of miscalculation. In statements broadcast on national television, Iranian leaders accused Washington of escalating tensions unnecessarily and undermining regional peace efforts. This development comes against a backdrop of years of strained relations between Washington and Tehran. From economic sanctions to disputes over nuclear enrichment programs, the two nations have been locked in a cycle of confrontation and negotiation. Naval encounters in the Persian Gulf have periodically raised fears of accidental clashes. Each new deployment adds another layer of complexity to an already fragile situation. Military experts point out that a second warship significantly boosts operational flexibility. A carrier strike group is not just a single vessel. It is a mobile military ecosystem. It carries fighter jets, surveillance aircraft, missile defense systems, and thousands of personnel. Its presence alone can shift the strategic balance in a region. By adding another warship, the U.S. enhances its capacity for rapid response, whether for deterrence, defensive action, or evacuation operations if needed. Global markets have already reacted to the news. Oil prices showed signs of volatility as investors weighed the potential for disruption in one of the world's most critical energy corridors. The Strait of Hormuz, a narrow passage through which a significant portion of global oil shipments passes, has historically been a flashpoint during U.S.-Iran tensions. Any hint of instability there tends to ripple across financial markets worldwide. Diplomatic channels, meanwhile, appear to be working behind the scenes. European leaders have urged restraint from both sides, emphasizing the need for dialogue over confrontation. The United Nations has also called for de-escalation, warning that increased military posturing could spiral into unintended conflict. In moments like this, communication becomes crucial. A single misinterpreted maneuver at sea can have far-reaching consequences. Supporters of the U.S. decision argue that strength prevents conflict. They contend that a visible show of force can deter hostile actions and reassure regional allies who depend on American security commitments. Critics, on the other hand, caution that military buildups often create a security dilemma where each side interprets defensive actions by the other as offensive threats, leading to a cycle of escalation. For Iran, the optics are significant domestically as well as internationally. Strong rhetoric against U.S. military moves plays into long-standing narratives of sovereignty and resistance. At the same time, Iranian leadership must weigh the economic and political costs of any direct confrontation. Sanctions have already placed pressure on the Iranian economy, and open conflict would bring unpredictable consequences. From a strategic standpoint, timing is everything. The Middle East is currently navigating multiple overlapping crises, from regional conflicts to shifting alliances. The presence of additional U.S. naval power adds another variable. Neighboring countries are closely watching developments, balancing their own security calculations while hoping to avoid becoming entangled in a larger confrontation. Defense analysts note that naval deployments can serve multiple purposes beyond immediate military readiness. They can act as leverage in negotiations, signaling seriousness without crossing into direct engagement. In past crises, such maneuvers have sometimes preceded diplomatic breakthroughs. Whether this moment follows that pattern remains uncertain. Social media has amplified reactions on both sides. Images of warships and dramatic headlines have fueled speculation about what might come next. However, experts caution against assuming that deployment equals imminent conflict. Military assets are often positioned as precautionary measures. The real question is how both governments choose to interpret and respond to the symbolism of this move. The broader international community is also mindful of the lessons of history. Previous escalations between the U.S. and Iran have included drone incidents, missile exchanges, and targeted strikes, each raising fears of a wider war. Yet despite sharp rhetoric and occasional clashes, both sides have so far avoided sustained large-scale conflict. That pattern suggests a complex balance of deterrence and restraint. At sea, the stakes are particularly high. Naval forces operate in close proximity, sometimes within visual range. Communication protocols and established maritime rules are designed to prevent accidents, but tensions can strain even well-established procedures. Military commanders on both sides understand that discipline and clarity are essential to avoid unintended escalation. For now, the situation remains fluid. The U.S. maintains that its objective is stability and protection of its interests. Iran insists that the deployment represents a direct threat. Between those positions lies a narrow space where diplomacy, deterrence, and strategic calculation intersect. As events continue to unfold, observers will be watching for signs of either escalation or engagement. Will there be back-channel talks? Will regional actors step in to mediate? Or will further military movements raise the temperature even higher? One thing is certain: the addition of a second U.S. warship to the Middle East is more than a routine maneuver. It is a powerful signal in a region where signals carry weight. Every movement is analyzed, every statement scrutinized. In such an environment, perception can be as influential as reality. The coming days will likely determine whether this moment becomes a turning point or simply another chapter in the long, complicated story of U.S.-Iran relations. For now, the world watches as two nations with a history of rivalry navigate a new phase of tension on the global stage. This is a rapidly developing story, and the situation could change at any moment. We'll continue monitoring every update to bring you accurate and timely coverage. What do you think? Is this a necessary show of strength or a dangerous step toward escalation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you value in-depth analysis and real-time global updates, make sure to subscribe to USA Latest Update and turn on notifications so you never miss an important story. Thank you for watching, stay informed, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next update.